that falsehood is of different grades. Among these different kinds of lies are some that are certainly greatest of the sins, and some are among the greater sins. There are also some types of lying, about whom there exists a doubt whether they are greater or not. Let us examine each kind of falsehood. Falsehood against Allah SWT, the Prophet and the Imams. A. The worst kind of falsehood is what one utters against Allah SWT, the Almighty, His Prophet and the Imams. A. The Divine Book, Qur'an says, "And, for what your tongues describe, do not utter the lie, saying this is lawful and this is unlawful, in order to forge a lie against Allah. Surely those who forge a lie against Allah shall not prosper. A little enjoyment and they shall have a painful punishment." Surah An-Nahl, 16, 116-117. The sixth holy Imam, Imam al-Sadiq, says, "To attribute falsehood to Allah and this holy Prophet is the greatest sin." 23. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, also told Abu Noman, "Do not attribute falsehood to us. Such a lie will expel you from the upright faith Islam." 24. This means that even if a single falsehood is attributed to the Imams, the light of faith is extinguished from the heart. It is such a serious sin that if one intentionally commits it during the fast of Ramzan, his fast is invalidated. Every type of falsehood, every kind of lie and every method of speaking an untruth is haram. Just as it is haram to speak a lie with the tongue, it is similarly haram to write something false. Even to point a finger in expressing a lie is haram. For example, if a person who does not pray is asked by another, "Have you performed salat?" and he nods his head, this tantamounts to lying and is a sin. Similarly, propagating the words of a liar while being aware that they are untrue is haram, and so is supporting a liar. Interpreting the Quranic verses and traditions to suit oneself. Attributing falsehood to Allah SWT, the Holy Prophet and Imams, means that one fabricates a saying and attributes it to them. For example, saying that the Holy Prophet has said such and such thing, while knowing that it is an absolute lie, or to say that such and such is a Quranic verse, when it is certain that it is not a part of the Holy Quran. Similarly, it is haram to distort the apparent and the true meanings of the Quranic verses and traditions to suit one's desire or to prove one's point. Incorrect translation of the holy verses and traditions is also a falsehood. It is not an easy job. It is for this very reason that most people are not eligible to speak from the pulpit. It is not an easy task to translate the ayats and traditions and explain their meanings in the speech. There is a need to exercise utmost caution in such risky situations. One who has not studied the rules of Arabic grammar properly will inadvertently misunderstand the saying of the Holy Prophet and the Holy Imams. He is bound to err even while explaining the apparent meaning. Therefore the speakers must make it a point to say only the apparent meaning of the ayats and the traditions. They must especially abstain from the exegesis of the ambiguous verses, a kind of falsehood attributed to Allah SWT. An example of this kind of lie is when a lying person, in order to prove his statement, says, "Allah is a witness that I am speaking the truth," or, "Allah knows that I am saying the truth." There is a saying of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, one who says, "Allah knows," whereas Allah does not, i.e. he knows the opposite of it, the heaven. Shudder at the might and the anger of Allah. 25. In another tradition, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq says, "When a man says, 'Allah knows,' while what he says is a lie, Allah tells him, 'Didn't you find anyone else to attribute a falsehood to?'" 26. In some traditions it is mentioned that when a person makes Allah SWT a witness for a falsehood, Allah SWT says, "Didn't you find anyone weaker than me to be a witness for your falsehood?" Falsehood against the Prophet and Imams. It implies fabricating a tradition and then attributing it to the Holy Prophet or the Imams. In the same way, it is haram to knowingly propagate a weak tradition. However, if one is sure of the proper references, then he can quote the tradition and attribute it to the Mazuman. Traditions must be quoted with the chain of narrators. Numerous traditions are found in the books and one is not sure whether they are authentic or not. In this case, one can give the name of the narrator and also provide the title of the book as reference. However, one must be certain that the tradition is not against the Zururiyat ad-Din, the necessities of faith. If there is anything against the basics of the principles of religion, it is most certainly a fabricated tradition. Similarly, there must not be any sort of disrespect to the Mazuman, nor should the tradition be against reason. Lastly, as a precautionary measure, one must quote only from the reliable books. The fifth holy Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, has said, "And do not quote a tradition except from a reliable authority, otherwise you will fabricate a great falsehood. And falsehood debases you in the sight of Allah and His creatures." 27. The sermon of Amir al-Mu'minin, Ali, at-Harith al-Hamadani also contains the following advice. Do not quote everything circulating among the common people. It suffices to be a falsehood. 28. Hence, whenever quoting a tradition, it is necessary to mention its source. Not a single word must be deleted or added, and not even a single word must be replaced, because in all such cases it would amount to attributing falsehood to the Mazuman. The Honorable Prophet is reported to have said, "One who attributes something to me, which I have not said, shall sit in the fire." 29. Aka Nuri writes in his book Darus Salam, "A person came to Aga Muhammad, Ali, a pious scholar and author of the book Maghaim, and said, I dreamt that I am tearing at the flesh of Imam Hussein, with my teeth. What is the interpretation of this dream?" Aga Muhammad, Ali pondered a while and then said, "You must be a preacher, relating the tragedies Maseb." The man replied in the positive. Aga Muhammad, Ali told him, "Either you give up this profession or quote only from reliable books." Another similar anecdote is recorded in the book, Shifa Sudur. A preacher was reciting a majlis in the presence of Ayatollah al-Hajj Muhammad Ibrahim Kalbasi. He was saying that Hazrat Imam Hussein said, "Zainab, O Zainab." Upon hearing